Hello, church. Hello, community. And hello, Alice.
Hello, hello.
We are obviously not together. I am where I normally am on these Tuesday encouraging words, but you are somewhere else.
I am.
But I'm glad that you could join us. I was teaching this last Sunday. You would have heard this teaching about Jesus crossing the sea with his disciples. And he was warning his disciples, and this is in Mark chapter 8. He was warning his disciples about the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And his disciples began to discuss in the boat the fact that they only have one loaf of bread, and they were just completely missing the point of what Jesus was saying. And so, what Jesus was really teaching about was be on guard against unbelief, be on guard against the hardened heart. And because the disciples weren't getting it, Jesus proceeds to ask them 7 questions in that text. And one of those questions is this in Mark chapter 8, verse 18 and 19. Do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of broken pieces you picked up? And they said to him, 12. Then he said, when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets full of broken pieces did you pick up? And they said to him, 7. Jesus was simply reminding them of what had just taken place, the feeding of the 4,000, maybe just a day or two before, fresh in their mind, and the feeding of the 5,000, not more than a month or two before. And he said to his disciples, do you not remember? In other words, I'm not talking about the fact that you don't have much bread in the boat. I'm talking about something else. And the reason that I'm pointing this out is because very often when we're dealing with unbelief in our own hearts or a hardened heart, it's good, and we're instructed, in fact, to remember. Remember what God has done. Remember what God has done in your life. Do you not remember? Do you not remember your salvation story, how the Lord delivered you from darkness to the light of his of the kingdom of his Son? Do you not remember the answered prayers? Jesus is asking them to remember. Remember what God has done. Remember those times that God intervened, and you know that the only reason things happened as they did, and the only reason the problem was solved was because God intervened. And so it's good for all of us just to remember what God has done in our lives. And that's a great way to combat a lack of faith or unbelief.
Amen. As you were speaking, I was remembering Mama and Daddy when I was a little girl. Before I ever came to know the Lord at 7, just seeing these people I didn't know, I had never met, and they were coming into the home visiting with Mama and Daddy, and I saw Daddy's face like just a little kid, brightened with in his countenance as he was giggling, sharing what God was doing. And this was God that I didn't know, but it was seeing his joy, and they're sharing these stories and the intimacy that they shared in their fellowship with one another that really drew my heart to want to know what they knew. And that's one of the greatest ways that we can remember and grow in our faith and be encouraged, is by being with our brothers and sisters and just sharing what God has done in our lives. So thank you for what you just shared. That's really great.
And thank you for that, because it reminds us, remember, it's a reminder that there are many ways to remember. Remember what God has done in our lives. Remember what God has done in the lives of others. So we need to be in fellowship, as you said, with brothers and sisters to hear their stories, but also remember what God has done right here in his word. These things, they didn't happen to us per se. They happened to other people, but they're reminders to us of what God has done, and therefore what God can do. And so, do you not remember? Let's all take that as a challenge to remember what God has done for us and to allow that to motivate us as we go forward into the future.
And to share this week with someone. Just ask the Lord to give us all an opportunity to share what God has done in our lives with someone new.
Amen. What a great prayer.
From that experience, from that personal experience, and what they see in you as you are reliving what God has done, can be the very thing that brings someone to want to know him as well.
That's the prayer the Lord will definitely answer. Opportunities to remind people,
Yeah.
to tell them what God has done in our lives. And we need to be alert for those for sure. It's good to see you,
Mm-hmm.
Alice.
It's great to see you too.
And all of you, community members, church members, we can't see you, but it's good to see you anyhow through this medium. And so we look forward to Sunday seeing you. Please come out if you can to Calvary Baptist for the one-day revival, 9:30 service in the morning, 5:30 service in the evening. Everybody's welcome. If you're going somewhere Sunday morning already, make a point to come out Sunday evening. We'd love to have you, and we're certainly praying for God to do mighty things in that service. So that's this coming Sunday. God bless. See you
God
all
bless.
soon.